everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the latest episode of Hidden Jewels of Soul and Disco. And this week we are featuring an artist who became a role model for many singers from the 60s, 70s and even the 80s. Because this singer had to fight decades to finally being paid for the work she did almost 60 years ago. This week we were featuring Betty Harris. Betty Harris' career came to an end in 1970. And why Otis Redding's death plays a big part in this, and also why her very famous 1969 album Soul Perfection, she's not considering this album as her own and she has very hard feelings about it, we'll discuss this after some needle drops.
But the smell of her perfume, don't you feel like crying? So if you don't mind, please leave me alone. I've got no time. You are the only man who could turn me on and make a bad girl out of me. Made me do things I never dreamed of. Now you want.
Before signing her contract with Jubilee Records in 1963, Betty Harris was a well-known figure in the music business, but under the name Betty Jeanette, where she, for example, appeared in the New York Jazz Festival with Sammy Price. And here's some footage.
Sammy Price Jr. at the piano. Here is blues singer Betty Jeanette.
When it rained 5 days and the sky turned.
In 1963, she released one of her signature songs, which actually belongs to somebody else. She covered Cry to Me in a much slower version, which was also a big hit by the great Solomon Brooke. She also released the single His Kiss in 1963 and her final single in 1964 with Now It's the Hour. What you're about to hear is the only existing live recording from Betty from that period of time singing Cry to Me. Here's a little snippet.
She had to come 3,000 miles, but I guarantee you that she'll turn everybody on. She's my soul sister, Betty Harris. Let's have a nice hand for her.
Leaves you all alone, and nobody calls you on the phone.
After her single releases, she changed label and went to Sensu in 1964. And that's when her collaboration, and now legendary collaboration, out of many reasons, with Allen Toussaint started. They released very strong and till today very loved ballads, and also other songs, of course. For example, Ride My Pony, I'm Evil Tonight, 12 Red Roses, I Don't Want to Hear It, What I Do Wrong, which are now considered Northern Soul classics. In 1969, Sensu released all these singles in one album and called it Soul Perfection. It was only released in the United Kingdom, and Betty Harris is very bitter about this release. She's not even considering this album as her record. Because, and that also led to the end of her career, is that she wasn't paid for the sales of the singles. She was paid for her studio time, but she wasn't getting any royalties of the songs she did with Allen Toussaint and the Sensu label. It weren't so many because Sensu had a big problem. It was a very local label. And somebody who was involved with some distributions activities back in the day told me, well, back in the day we sold records out of the trunk. that was one of our distribution ways. So Allen Toussaint hired the best musicians available in New Orleans at that time. Betty was flown to New Orleans to record these albums, and they are top-notch quality from the beginning to the end. But with this kind of distribution way, it's very difficult to get your artist in the top 10. And also, like I said before, Betty was not getting any money from these sales. She earned money while doing live concerts. And one of her main income was that she was the first group before Otis Redding appeared. Once Otis Redding died, the source of income died. And with less touring, not good distribution and marketing, she came to the decision in 1970 to end her career and raise a family. The story could have ended here, but fortunately it does not. For over 60 years, Betty Harris fought her rights for her singing on the records to get the royalties, because her material, and I'm just showing you a short snippet, was released, for example, on this record in 1969. It was sold quite well. Today this is considered a Grail record. Why it is suddenly so rare, I have no idea. When I bought this record it was 20 euro. Now it is between 250 and 300 euro. Why that is, I have no idea. You hardly find it anywhere except for Discogs, but I don't think that it's even available on Discogs at the moment. But you won't see it anywhere at the moment. Also, and just showing you an example, the P-Vine label did reissue her songs as well, and this sold also very well. She wasn't getting any money from this too. And let's don't forget about all the CD compilations, bootlegging and everything else, the money she missed out because of this. So up to date till that point, she's still very, very bitter about that. The first time she got income for her work was with the release, and this is the reissue, the first release of this double LP. That was the first time that she earned royalties from her recordings. And she's again getting royalties from this reissue in 2022. She's still touring around, she's still doing great, her voice is still sounding phenomenal. I had the great honor of meeting her a couple of years ago in the UK. But this is just a small example of what the singers are going through to earn some money off the art they did back in the day. And she only finally got the licensing to her master recordings because one of the engineers was bankrupt and they had to make a deal to get her the royalties. And so she finally now has rights to 70 of her master recordings. So it's a sad story somehow, because I wished she would have had a chance to have a career in the 70s, how she developed her vocals and also the music from the 70s. But I'm really thankful that she's now finally getting royalties from her music. And she's not, by far not the only one who is fighting for this. Some artists didn't survive it, and the question is now, who's cashing in? Most of the time, the label. And I do understand that artists are not getting fully paid for the work usually. You sign a contract, the production needs to be paid, the musician needs to be paid, marketing, distribution, all of that, I totally understand it. But what happened back in the day, and I don't know if it's still happening today, but I know for sure that it happened a lot back in the day, ripping these artists off totally is something that really tears my heart apart. Because when you do such a recording, you put a lot of love and stuff and something from yourself in these recordings, and you are damned with nothing. So if you have a chance, I can only encourage you, buy this record store release. It's still available and it's not very expensive. This double LP with great material from Betty Harris on green I know. So everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay safe, stay healthy, listen to good music, maybe Betty Harris, and I'll see you next time.